international sporting events. Next, I want to turn over to Carlos, the President of the United Soccer Federation, to discuss the opportunity that our bid offers. Carlos?
Thank you, Decio. Thank you, Steve. Good evening. Good morning, everyone. Finally, with respect to opportunity, we've talked a lot about that. Our bid offers, we believe, an opportunity for FIFA to stage a spectacular tournament that will optimize the value of FIFA's biggest asset and deliver unprecedented benefits to our member associations, both large and small. We see opportunities for players. Our state-of-the-art stadiums and facilities will allow players to put their focus where it should be, on delivering their best performance on the pitch. We also see opportunities for fans. We'll work with FIFA to reimagine the fan experience, including FanFest in every host city, and many others across all three nations, and throw the biggest party the world has ever seen. We also see the opportunity for record revenues. We anticipate sold-out stadiums for every match and an expected 5.8 million tickets sold, with ticketing revenues of more than $2.1 billion. That will be a new record. We also see an opportunity for a significant new commercial success. North America is the world's largest sports market, nearly $70 billion in revenue just last year. So by 2026, there's a chance to introduce FIFA to potential partnerships that can generate new resources for the global game. We also see opportunity to inspire the next generation of players, just as past World Cups have done, and bring in new players and grow the game at the grassroots in Canada, Mexico, and the United States, across CONCACAF, and indeed around the world. We see opportunity to help FIFA advance its FIFA Forward vision, so that more of the success of the World Cup is shared with and invested in all member associations and the 6 confederations in every corner of the world. Finally, we see opportunity to help FIFA create a new legacy, a new template for the expanded World Cup format that can help shape the future of football for the next century to come. This includes advancing the FIFA 2.0 reforms, upholding the integrity of the game, and the highest standards of transparency, human rights, and environmental sustainability. So in closing, before we open it up, let me just give you a quick sense of the campaign so far. Brian said at the beginning, we're speaking to you tonight, or today for you all, from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, where we're making the case for our bid to members of the Asian Football Confederation. Last week, we were in Bogota, Colombia, in Lima, Peru, talking with members of CONMEBOL, amongst others. Before that, previous weekend, we were in Amman, Jordan, with members of the West Asian Football Federation. And before that at UEFA, and before that in the southern parts of Africa. As you may have seen, we've also been communicating directly with the 211 member associations, including weekly letters, which are now available on our website, united2026.com. We're not taking any vote for granted. We're going to keep working very hard for every vote right up to the election on June 13th in Moscow. So just to summarize, Canada, Mexico, and the United States are honored. We're humbled to put forward this historic united bid. We believe that we offer the unity, the certainty, and the opportunity that the first ever 48-country FIFA World Cup demands, and we're excited to welcome the world to our 3 countries. With that, Steve, Decio, and I are happy to take your questions, and I turn it back over to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos and Decio and Stephen. We are going to open it up for questions now. As a reminder, to get into the queue, press *1. I will indicate who the upcoming 2 or 3 will be in order so you can prepare, and then when it is your turn to ask the question, you'll be taken off mute by the operator. So again, press *1 now to get into the queue. The first 3 questions are going to be from Jeff Carlisle, Joshua Cloak, and then Ron Bloom. Jeff, do you want to start us off?
Hey, thanks very much. My question is for Carlos. How concerned are you that anti-U.S. sentiment in some quarters, might end up costing you the bid for this World Cup?
It's not geopolitics. We're talking about football and what's fundamentally, at the end of the day, what's the best interest of football and our footballing community. And we've had no backlash. We're very focused on the merits of our bid. Every conversation we've had here in Asia and elsewhere before that has focused on, as I said, the unity and certainty of what we have on the table and the opportunity for the footballing community. And that's where we remain focused.
Okay, thanks.
So next up will be Joshua Cloak, and then Ron Bloom, and then Jonathan Tannenwald. And just again, remember, *1 to get into the queue. Joshua Cloak?
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is for Stephen. Stephen, can you kind of share your thoughts on Vancouver, Canada's third largest city, dropping out of the bid, and how does this change kind of the landscape of the Canadian cities now available moving forward?
Well, I think that we're still really excited about the candidate host cities that we have. I can't comment on the actual decision that was made by the provincial government in the province of British Columbia, but we have three very, very awesome candidate host cities, all of who have had hosted major events, football events as well as others. So we're very, very confident in their ability to be part of the final team, the final host cities. So we're very confident and comfortable with where we're positioned right now.
Okay, thank you.
Ron Bloom and then Jonathan Tannenwald. Ron?
Yes, for all three of you, given the reforms by FIFA, are you confident that the voters are going to make a merit-based decision, or that a certain percentage of them are still corrupt and will be having their hands out looking for a deal? And do you think that there's any reluctance among some of the voters to commit to putting an event in the U.S. where all their transactions and meetings could be subject to subpoenas and wiretaps by the Justice Department?
Hey, Ron, it's Carlos. Good morning. I mean, look, we've had this conversation previously, and absolutely no concerns on our part, and we haven't had any of those concerns raised by any of the members that we've met with thus far. As I said, at the outset, we remain very focused on the merits of our bid, which is all about the unity of the three of us, the unity, with CONCACAF and with the other confederations. The absolute certainty of what we have to offer FIFA and its member associations, and the huge opportunity that will come from hosting this event, not just for the three of us, but for the world. The reforms that FIFA undertook some years ago, I think, were spot on, and we feel very confident that ultimately the right decision will be made, and we feel confident that that decision will be awarded to this Tri-Nation bid. We're not concerned about the issues that you just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, it's Steve Reed, and I don't think I can offer too much more to what Carlos has said. That we believe that the member associations are going to judge us on the quality of the bids, on the merits of our bid, and that's it. So again, we're very confident about what we're putting forward, and I don't think that we're concerned about old politics. We're very comfortable where we stand.
Thank you.
So next up will be Jonathan Tannenwald, followed by Jose Andres Diaz, Aaron Bauer, and Steve Sandor. Jonathan, do you want to ask a question?
Thank you. Thank you, and good morning. I have a question for Carlos, and then I have one for Steve, if I may. The question for Carlos is sort of related to one that I realize the subject you've been asked about a little bit already today. But if you do, in the course of your travels around and your many conversations, you speak about how this bid can help further FIFA's goals of increased transparency and better governance. If you encounter influencers in the global game who don't want those things to happen, what's your response? And maybe that's a cynical question on the part of the American media, but as you know, there are a lot of voices over here who believe that those people are out there, so what do you see?
Well, I will just restate what I've said previously, which is, we are being met with open arms, great enthusiasm by all of the member associations we have met. We met several today, just having arrived last night, several today here in Asia. Mostly today they were the Southeast Asian, the ASEAN representatives. Tomorrow we're meeting with many of the South Asian countries. We were in West Asia last week. So to take Asia as a continent, we've been received very, very warmly. And I would say that people are interested in what we have to offer. We've had discussions about cities, city choices, the candidates. We're talking about the stadiums. People are very focused on that. There's been no pushback to receiving us and talking to us very openly about the opportunity at hand. So, what you're getting at is not something that we have yet encountered with. And so I think the reforms that FIFA undertook, the greater transparency, this process that we're going through right now, flying around the world, meeting with member associations in a very open, transparent way, and everything is getting reported back to FIFA, so FIFA know who we've met with on a day-to-day basis. Everything is been tracked and recorded. I don't really have any qualms or complaints. We feel very good about the process thus far. But again, we're still roughly 90 days away from that decision. And we expect over this period to have met with most, if not all, of the member associations between now and the final decision in Moscow. And so, we're taking it to every voter, and we recognize the challenge and the daunting task that represents, but we've gotten no pushback at all. People are very, very curious to learn more about, our proposals and the bid that we tabled.
If I may ask my question to Steve, if you still have time. I heard the question earlier from Josh about Vancouver, and I wonder, for you, it is your home province and your hometown, and it is Victor's home province and hometown. Are you disappointed that there won't be World Cup games there in 2026 if this bid wins?
I guess, to be perfectly honest, I would be disappointed in that it's my backyard, and I've lived there for most of my life. But by the same token, as I said earlier, I'm extremely encouraged by the quality, the veracity of the other candidate host cities. We've got Edmonton, Toronto, and Montreal, as I said, have all hosted major events and have great stadiums, have great people on the ground. We've got a super team of volunteers and very skilled people that have been in event management. So I think that we're really pleased with the candidate host cities that we're putting forward now.
Thank you.
So again, if you want to ask a question, please hit *1 to get into the queue. The next 4 will be Jose Andres Diaz, Aaron Bauer, Steve Sandor, and Peter Nolan. Jose?
Yes, is that the first day of the 2026 World Cup in North America will have a game per country. Does the bid have defined yet in which country the inaugural game will be? No, that does not have been decided. It will be nice to have one game in each country the first day, but that is a decision that is going to be taken after the Congress decides which bid is chosen to organize the 2026 World Cup. And second, with the
we have suggested that FIFA might consider having 3 matches on the opening day, 1 per country. But at the end of the day, that is it will be FIFA's decision as to whether that happens, and if so, in which 3 cities.
Okay, and the second question, with the departure of Sunil Gulati and Desde Maria from the Mexican and United States Federations, is this going to affect or modify the bid for the World Cup in certain way?
Can you repeat the question? I didn't understand it.
Yeah, and I mean that the departure of Sunil Gulati and from your departure from the Mexican Federation, is this going to modify or affect at some point or some way the bid for the World Cup, the project of the bid?
From the Mexican side, I will, and I'm sure that it's the same for the U.S. side, we are a part of an institution, and we represent an institution as Carlos represents also our institution, and I don't see any change about what the project is and what our goals are. So if Sunil is gone and I'm going to be gone after the World Cup on Russia, that is not going to change at all what our institutions are asked us to work for and achieve one big project as the World Cup of 2026.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would just add from the United States perspective that, you know, this bid is really the result of a vision that the 3 countries have shared now for some years. We took a formal decision to combine efforts more than a year ago, and we're now in the last 90 days of this, and you know the event, it won't occur for another 8 or 9 years, and so we 3 of us represent our three respective institutions, and people are expendable, no one's indispensable, people come and go, and you know, we happen to be the stewards of our respective federations today, and we're leading the charge. We're supported by a very hands-on board, which, by the way, includes Sunil Gulati and our 3 respective institutions, and you know, so there's total unanimity in terms of the unity that we present, and you know, we're looking forward to obviously the final day on June 13th.
Okay, thank you.
The next 3 will be Aaron Bauer, Steve Sandor, and Peter Nolan. Aaron, your turn.
Hey, all of you, thank you for taking our questions. With the change in the FIFA reforms, having to lobby every single FIFA member association, how does that change your strategy in bidding for a World Cup? And should the World Cup be decided by a vote from every single country? That kind of increases the variance and kind of adds a level of chaos to this whole thing, since you have to convince more countries on the world that you deserve to host.
Look, it's Carlos Cordero. I wouldn't say this is chaotic. It's anything but chaotic. We're actually moving around the globe in a very methodical, almost clinical way. We're attending regional, in this particular case, we're attending 2 regional Asian meetings here in Kuala Lumpur. Next week we're going to be in Korea for an East Asian meeting. Last week we were in West Asia. I mean, I think that, yes, obviously reaching out to 206 or 207 because we don't vote ourselves, but that number of associations requires a degree of planning, and it's obviously a lot more complex than reaching out to what would have been 22 years ago or today 37 members of the FIFA Council. But no, we are prepared. We have a very organized team here with us in Asia, but also back home. And as I said, it just requires us to be very organized and very methodical. And we expect that by the decision day, June 13th, we will have met with virtually all of the member associations. And we believe that this degree of openness and transparency is ultimately the right way forward for FIFA. Why shouldn't every member association have a say and a vote in where this significant event will occur in 2026? So we are very supportive of that, and as I said, we are moving organized way, and we've already met. We've already been, to Europe, to South America, here in different parts of Asia, obviously at our own confederation in Miami not too long ago. So we've already reached out to every, and it's only a matter of time before we will have talked to all of the associations.
How much does this increase the costs of the bid? Much more travel, much more a global presence.
I would say, remember, we're three nations here, combining efforts, and our budget is frankly not significantly, it's about the same where it was 8 years ago when the U.S. was bidding by itself. We are, it's not a question of cost, or increased cost for that matter.
And I think there's nothing better than face-to-face talks with each president of each federation and talk open to tell them that we are united and we want to host the biggest sport event ever. And when you have the opportunity to talk openly, face-to-face, I think this is the best effort we can do without any regret of the effort we are doing to try to go and say we are here, the three of us, and we invited to come to our region to have this World Cup in 2026.
Yeah, I think to Carlos's point earlier, we have been welcomed. Everybody that we've spoken to have had a great interest in our united bid, and I think that it's a great opportunity for us to get around and be in front of each and every one of the federations and speak to the strength and quality of our bid. So we're really pleased with the transparency that has been created for this cycle, and again, we're very confident in what we're putting forward.
Thank you, guys.
So again, a reminder, *1 to get into the queue to ask a question, *1. Next up is Steve Sandor.
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for doing this. I'm going to ask about the 60-10-10 split of games. Can that be changed, and have you been under any pressure to change that? And could that be something that FIFA asks to change? I know when you talk about the scheduling of games for the opening day and such, and that being up to FIFA, could that split, are we married to that split, or is that split of games, could that change as the bid evolves?
It's Carlos Cordero again. Look, when we came together more than a year ago, we decided that this was the most optimal mix of cities and matches based on what the three countries together had available and were ready to offer FIFA. Look, at the end of the day, firstly, the decision to award the bid hasn't been made as yet, so that decision will be made by the Congress in June. And really only after that, and sometime after that, will FIFA, and if it's the three of us, our three nations sit down and talk about specifics into which of the 23 cities. We're going to have to shorten that list down to 16 if that's what their final choice is. And which cities, and what order of matches. So, we certainly are coming to that discussion with a common point of view, but ultimately that decision will be made by FIFA if we're awarded the bid on June 13th. And that won't be on the 14th of June. That will be at some point over the months following.
Your 60-10-10 is your bid, almost like a suggestion, but FIFA can then, when you sit down and get those 16 cities hammered out, say we want this many games here, this many games here, this many games here.
Well, look, we're not anticipating FIFA are going to make any changes to our proposals. The reality is Canada has 3 cities in the mix. Mexico has 3, and we have whatever the balance is, 17. So, when you're trying to work through a total of 16 cities, by definition, the U.S. is going to have the vast majority of the cities. So that reflects sort of how the matches have been distributed. But ultimately and finally, that decision will be made together with the three of us, of course, and with FIFA, should we be awarded the bid on the 13th of June.
Steve, one of the reasons that we came together in a united bid was because of the strength of that and the number of cities that could potentially host in the three countries. If we as Canada Soccer had come in and tried to bid on our own, it's pretty clear that we would not be able to do it. So we're very comfortable with how we've structured this. But as Carlos pointed out, at the end of the piece, if we are awarded the hosting rights, and it's a decision that we and FIFA will make in terms of allocation of the matches.
And another point is that beside the 60-10-10 games as a region, for example, for Mexico, all the people that lives in the north of Mexico will be easy for them to attend the games in the south of the U.S. And I think it's the same for the Canadians, that they can attend easily the games that are going to be in the north of the U.S. So that is the importance of our bid and our region, that the mobility that we can have around the three countries allow our fans, which is the most important part of this bid, to go around the region and be at the games, no matter if they are Mexicans watching games in the U.S. or U.S. guys watching games in Mexico, or the same for Canada. And I think that is a very rich, powerful tool of our bid.
And look, I would add, let me add one final point, which is, it's not an accident that FIFA are allowing joint bids today for 2026. They haven't been permitted, not since the Korea-Japan tournament back in 2002. And so why might you ask, would FIFA allow or encourage joint bids today? Well, precisely because they've chosen to go to 48 teams and 80 matches, which is a huge undertaking for any single country, frankly, even for the United States. And so I think the important point here is that we came together as a joint bid because we saw the merits in a joint bid. We're stronger together, the three of us, than we are individually. And I'd say that for the United States, as I'm sure Steve and Desio would say that respectively for Canada and Mexico. We are better off today as a joint bid. And the split of matches that we have proposed to FIFA, frankly, reflect the resources of the three countries. We in the United States are blessed with some very substantial resources in terms of stadium infrastructure, cities, and so on, and that reflects the 60 matches that we have on the table. But at the end of the day, there is a reason why FIFA have asked for joint, or have encouraged joint bids, and we do think that our joint bids taken together, provide for a vastly superior bid than our competition. And I think at the end of the day, our member associations making that decision will see that and understand that, and that's the encouragement that we have been receiving, as we've been moving around the globe meeting with them. So I think that's the point. This joint bid is very much part of FIFA's way forward in terms of encouraging people to come together to host such enormous tournaments.
And finally, I think hopefully we are going to be on the 13th. Hopefully we can organize that by the decision of the Congress. But that's a good news for the world, because if that is happened, then in the future countries can get together and organize FIFA tournaments all around the world in a form that today is more difficult than if they want to do it alone. So the decision that the Congress will take on the 13th is going to be strategic for the rest of the years ahead, for countries to be able to organize FIFA tournaments from this year to the next 5, 10, or 15 or 20 years ahead.
So one last reminder, *1 to get into the queue. Peter Nolan is next, followed by Rob Harris. Peter, your question.
Okay, thank you for having me on. My question is, I'm wondering, with was the thinking behind putting the three federation presidents at the forefront of the bid, was that done to emphasize the united nature of the bid as opposed to a U.S.-dominated bid? And I'm wondering if that's true. Has it been well received?
Sorry, it's Carlos. It's Peter. No, look, I mean, a number of things have happened in the last few weeks. You know, my election took place on the 10th of February. I think it was natural, and you would expect me as the new president of the U.S. Soccer Federation to take responsibility for our share of the bid, and that is why I stepped up to the plate. And we all felt that as we entered the last 100 days at that point, and now it's less than 90, but we all felt that, you know, at least I did, that it was important that all three presidents took joint responsibility for this. We happen to be here together today, but over the last few weeks and over the ensuing weeks, we may not be together. We may, I think, divide and conquer, right? Isn't that the saying? That we may be in different continents all at the same time. So much so, you know, all to the power of a joint bid. And so, you know, we're here today, coincidentally together, but we could well have been on three different continents, and we'd be speaking to you from in three different time zones. So I think it speaks to unity that we have, the trust and respect that we have of each other, and you will see us popping up at different moments or in time over the next 90 days in different cities and different countries. And you know, we're working seamlessly. We have a tremendous organization, which happens to be New York-based. The executive team for our bid sits there, ably supported by folks in Mexico and Canada. And we feel, as I said, we feel with that support and everything else we're getting, you know, take a look at the bid books when they are made public. We have very strong support from all three governments at the federal level. So it was only correct and apt for us to be, you know, co-chairing this, and we feel very good about that. I'm sure Desio Steve might add to that, but
I think that what Carlos says is 100% true. And we are here together. We are part of a team. There is a lot of friendship, and we share the objective of this project. And we are very proud to walk in any hall and present ourselves as three guys of three countries that are trying to get a good decision on the 13th of June in Moscow. So there's nothing more than three guys representing three institutions reaching for an objective, and it's a nice time being together. Carlos, Steve, and I.
I would echo those remarks. You know, it's a common goal that we've had from the outset. It's a unified bid, and each of our federations have contributed equally in terms of the resources that we put to this. Our respective teams in each of the federations have been amazing in all aspects of putting the final bid book together. So I don't think that we really dwell on titles. We are three co-chairs at the present, but we've always been together in terms of trying to achieve this common objective.
Thank you.
All right, so we have just time for one more question. Goes to Rob Harris. Rob, your question?
Vote process. A lot of the bidders last time round talked about how they were lied to by people in meetings. Obviously now it's public. How will you hold to account those who you find out actually lie to you when it comes to the vote and they vote against you? And now you've seen the Moroccan plans from Saturday, the first extensive details. They're obviously presenting this pitch in terms of $16 billion of investment in infrastructure and redeveloping a football nation and new transport links, and the fact they're more compact. How will you hone your message to counter that, and what is your plan to counter them, who obviously present quite a different vision to yours, which is it's all ready, but you're more spread out?
Rob, it's Carlos. Look, I don't think it's as simple as we're ready and they're not, or however you want to put it. I mean, we have a lot of respect for the Moroccan bid. There's no question they're serious. They're willing to spend, obviously, what it takes to win, and so we have a lot of respect for that. And we're taking nothing for granted. We're focused on our bid, not theirs. And I think until the very final vote, we're going to be out there working very hard, hoping to convince each and every voter of the merits of our bid. And it's about our bid that we're talking, not about other people. And look, we believe passionately, Rob, about the virtues that a united bid represents. Obviously, the quality and certainty that the bid provides, you referred to that, but not just for FIFA, for the players, for the fans, the entire footballing community. That's crucial. The opportunity this will provide to grow the game around the world, particularly in our three countries, and the way in which, look, we are stewards or can be stewards of a united game to bring the world together for a celebration of partnership, unity in football. That's central to what we represent. So that is what we're out there talking about, always with a lot of respect for Morocco, and we see them all the time, and we chat with them in the hotel and so on. So we're friends with them as well. But this is more about our bid, and what we talk about is our bid, and not anything else.
Hello.
Yep.
Hello.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I was just going to follow up. I mean, first of all, as part of the question about how you can trust anyone, but also, have you had any feedback since Sepp Blatter endorsed the Morocco bid? Have you sensed that as a negative at all for them and a positive for you? Or do people actually still take Sepp Blatter's word as a something they listen to, or has that come up at all?
Rob, it's never come up in a single conversation that I've been party to, and Desio and Steve can speak for themselves.
Absolutely not.
I vaguely remember it coming up a few weeks ago, and when I read some press report, but it has not come up in a single conversation.
Clearly, I just read it in the news feed, but in conversations with any of the delegates or presidents of other federations, we've never had a discussion around that at all. So the impact has been absolutely zero.
Thanks.
All right. Well, that is all the time that we have for today. I want to thank, on behalf of our three co-chairs, as well as everyone at the United Bid, I want to thank all of you for joining and for your questions. We have a lot of campaigning left to do, but we look forward to future conversations and more opportunities to share the details of the bid. So thank you very much. Have a good rest of the day or evening, depending on where you are in the world, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes today's conference. Thank you for participating. You may now disconnect.